historic Virginia Key Beach Park is very unique in its location. It's the northernmost natural barrier island, less than a mile off the shore of downtown Miami. It sits right with the island of Key Biscayne and sits right in Biscayne Bay. So very easy to access, just a mile away from one of the most dynamic downtown areas in the world, is a beautiful paradise of natural beauty and cultural history. And when I say cultural history, that's because this was the African-American beach, the colored-only beach for Miami-Dade County, established in 1945. And that took place following a wade-in to one of the northern beaches, known as Haulover Beach, where courageous people went into the water when none of the beaches allowed people of color, African Americans, Hispanics of darker complexion, to any of the public beaches. So there was no place to swim and there was no place to recreate. And when you think of 1945, South Florida, Miami was very much as it is today, a tourist attraction and known for its beaches. So that was something that the city fathers did not want to have in the public domain, knowing that African Americans and people of color were not allowed in the public beaches. Many of their visitors came from the north. And so rather than arrest those citizens and get that reputation into the public media, a deal was struck with the African American leadership that allowed for the establishment of historic Virginia Key Beach in August 1st, 1945. At that time, the Rickenbacker Causeway that now connects Key Biscayne and Virginia Key to the mainland did not exist. And so the only way out to the island was really by people who had boats. So local fishermen in the African American community would pick up citizens who wanted to recreate on the beach. They would come down to the Miami River right around 3rd Street, hop on the boat, come on over, have fun on the beach. And if you didn't catch the last boat back to the mainland, you were stuck on the island overnight. Now, from that period, there had been an establishment of different picnic buildings and furnishings on the island. A hurricane came through in the late 40s and blew all of that down and really wiped the island clean. And that brought on the new establishment of some of the historic buildings that are here today, built in 1952 and 1953. A historic carousel, a concession stand, showers, and other facilities. During that time, segregation, the idea was separate but equal. And at that time, it was planned to make this beach equal to Crandon Park Beach, right on Key Biscayne. So you had the white beach across Bears Cut, and on the north end of Bears Cut was the historic Black Beach. So this beach, established in 1945, was the African American and colored only beach, but that really only lasted through segregation, right in the mid-1960s. With integration, it brought African Americans and Anglos and others together on many of South Florida's beaches. Historic Virginia Key started to fall into disrepair. And so all through the 70s, really the population of folks coming out on the weekends and throughout the week really dropped off for individuals going to Haulover Beach and Crandon Park and the many other places, South Beach and other places to recreate. And so the park fell into disrepair. And all during this time, this was a county park. And so in 1979, the county turned it over to the city of Miami. The city of Miami in 1980 started to fall into bankruptcy. And so the city of Miami closed the park to day-to-day traffic in 1982. So from 1982 until the late 90s, when developers started to see the area, and Miami was back in a boom, and South Florida being a boom town, we were hitting another one of our industrial surges. Developers were eyeballing the historic beach park. At that point, it was completely empty. The gates were closed. The city only used it for special concerts, special events, police training, horseback riding, a few remote things that were perfect locations for the site. But developers had their eye on it, and there was a unique group of people, African American leadership, and white Americans, mainly environmentalists of the area, got together, made a march on City Hall in 1999 and 2000 and demanded that development not come to the island and that it be renewed and brought back to the way it was. And so a task force was created, and that came forward with a plan to bring the park back to its historic level. And so in 2000, the City Commission agreed unanimously and created the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. What that did was brought together private citizens who serve as board members, who created a plan approved by the City of Miami to restore the historic elements on the park, build an interpretive center or a museum to explain the history of the park and the history of African Americans in South Florida, and to reopen it to the public. And when I say reopen it, it closed in 1982 and actually didn't reopen until 2008, 26 years later. And so the environment had to be renewed right along with the historic buildings that were on the property. All of that took place, and in 2008, the doors reopened to the public for day-to-day traffic, and that's where we are today. I want to welcome and invite everyone to historic Virginia Key Beach Park. It is Miami's diamond in the rough. It's a beautiful environmental space, cultural space filled with history, filled with all the elements that embody South Florida and the city of Miami. A great cultural mix, nearly a mile of beautiful, pristine shoreline, very natural coastal dunes, walking trails, picnic areas, a concession stand, a historic railroad, and a historic seaside carousel that's wonderful for the kids. 2 new playgrounds that are on the property, and we're open 363 days a year, only closed on Thanksgiving and on Christmas Day. So please come out and join us, and you'll see paradise renewed